Welcome back to the Snakes here on OOTP 23. We are a couple days past the draft here, just did a couple days of simming so we could get through with our negotiate draftees and get those guys signed to deals, as well as a couple minor league signings throughout the rookie ball ranks, just getting some guys in, populating those teams. But also, what has happened recently was we did end up claiming Omar Hernandez. We picked him up from Philadelphia, and I could have sworn that I already put him through waivers here. It says that he has 0 days left. He is on the 40-man roster, I believe. Yes, he is. So we claimed him from Philly because I saw that he had one option year left, and I was like, oh, we can easily claim him and then just send him down, and he'll be on our team next season. But I forgot that MLB has the new rule where you can only option a guy a certain amount of times per season. So he already has hit that max, so he has to be waived. So I could have sworn that I already waived him. As I go back here, I could have sworn that I already waived him and attempted to clear him through waivers so we could send him down to AAA, but I guess he wasn't. I'm also not really sure why Madrigal is still showing up on this list. But I guess I didn't actually waive him, and we don't really have a spot for him in the Major League roster because we obviously have Marchand and Hedges, and I don't want to send down one of these guys because Marchand's actually, well, I guess he hasn't been turning things around. I believe he was turning things around. If we take a look, what am I looking here for? Yeah, in May. He was good in May, but in June he's been awful. Well, Hedges, of course, just, he's defense, all defense first. But, I mean, it's not even like we're trying to go full all-out defense here with the catching because, I mean, our pitching has been fine, I'm pretty sure. I mean, ERA could be better. I mean, maybe we send down Marchand. I believe he has options. He does. So maybe we'll do that. We'll rather than waiving him again, because I could have sworn I already did that, we are going to send Marchand down to AAA Reno. He's going to go down there for a bit. And then Omar Hernandez is going to come up to the big leagues. So now we have Hedges and Hernandez as the tandem catching duties, both of them with very good catcher ability, all that defense for Hedges and for Hernandez. Every fourth game for both righties and lefties. The thing is, now we are trying to score more runs here, and we've got Hedges and Pache at the bottom of our order here as two pretty much just automatic outs. We also have Jeremiah Jackson, who is a DH, who is still not hitting here. So I did promise that a bit later into June, we would take a look at how Tamar Johnson has been in AAA. And he has not been great. Not been great in AAA. Doesn't even expect to call up to the big leagues here. He's 21, literally just turned 21. He could hold his own, at least what my scout thinks he can at the big league level. But, I mean, do we want to rush him to the big leagues here? I mean, we could really use some hitting, but it's not like I don't know. It's not like he has a ton of pop. All right, so here's what we're going to be rolling with here for a bit now. We're not going to call up Tamar Johnson quite yet here. De Los Santos is going to get dropped down to a bench role, but he's playing every fifth game at first base. Stefanich is up from AAA here. He was tearing things up in AAA. He's hit at every level he's been to, so we're just going to see if he keeps hitting in the big leagues here. He did hit in the big leagues for us when he got a chance last year, so let's see if he can keep doing that, while Buddy Kennedy now shifts to being our DH, and he gets back into the starting lineup. Also, just an update on Perdomo here. He's still hitting about league average. He's walking a decent amount, not striking out a ton. Definitely don't want to keep playing him at shortstop, though. He's not a shortstop. He's been not playing a good shortstop either, so we're hoping that Jordan Lawler's going to come back soon here, and he actually is on his way back, currently on a rehab assignment. He's played one game in AAA, but we are going to be hopefully calling him up here soon. Also, Luis Severino's on a rehab assignment right now as well. All right, so we've brought Severino back from his rehab stint, so he's back in the rotation. Sandoval is on the rehab stint right now, so he's going to be back here momentarily. And you'll see that Adone and Cavalli are now in the bullpen, and Joe Elvis is now among our starting pitching here. He's actually been quite solid for us. He was running as an opener for Adone. As you can see, he was good as an opener, and he's been good in the bullpen. Both roles he's been solid in. And if we take a look at, that's actually split between levels, so I should probably set that to Major League here. And yeah, he's been fine as the opener, good as a reliever here in the big leagues. And he expects to be a starter here, so we're just going to put him in the rotation because Adone is a guy who has not thrived as an opener nor as a follower, so he's just going to go into the bullpen here as just a true reliever, as well as Cade Cavalli, who has come up in the big leagues here, and he has just not been good through 5 starts, so he's going to go into the bullpen and hopefully figure things out and hopefully not have a 2 home run per 9. And in order to make room on the roster for Severino, we ended up DFAing Florial. He's just going to pass through AAA if he makes it through, which he should. He was really bad in his Major League stint this year. But I mean, after all, who hasn't been bad on this year's D-backs team? Alrighty, so we are here on July 1st. It is time to take a look at the international free agent signings. But before we do that, we have made a few changes to our Major League roster here. The first thing you may notice is that Tamar Johnson is in the big leagues. He was expecting to be playing in the big leagues. He's just turned 21 a few days ago. Wasn't doing so hot in AAA, but he was so good in AA. And, I mean, we just need some sort of spark here at the Major League level, so I figured might as well call up Tamar Johnson. So he is going to be playing second base for us. Marte is going to be DHing, just because he's, not the greatest defensive second baseman, so might as well just play the younger guy there, get the younger guy in at second base. And then De Los Santos moves back to being first base. Kennedy's now back to being the backup first baseman. And then it's Rojas third, Lawler's at short, Carroll, and then Taylor's in center with Pache as the backup, because we recently got an email from him demanding that he is a member of the starting lineup here. And also, if we take a look, this is very small sample size, but still, in June, only 21 plate appearances, but he was good in those 21 plate appearances. Very bad in the other ones, but mainly as a backup. While Pache has been not good basically the entire time. Really, really bad. I mean, he was a starter all June and he had a 3 WRC plus. We cannot have that in the order. Alrighty, so here in the international free agent period, we are going to be offering Demario Parra here a deal. He is a Cuban second baseman, probably just a second baseman, maybe corner outfield, probably not. Definitely second baseman, a little bit of speed to his game, can play a decent second base, but he's, Scout thinks he could be a very, very good bat here, and he is not like the full $5 million. His demand right now is only 2.6, so usually I tend to go after these guys that only have like 2 million-ish demand if I can get him, and especially this guy who's, my scout thinks he's really good, so does OSA, and we can maybe sneak in a couple low demand guys down here who might have some decent ratings, so we might be able to sneak in and maybe become a decent player, maybe somebody like Juan Salazar here, somebody like that. If there was a better defender here who was more towards the 5 million, I might be interested in doing that. But I mean, the center fielder here, Pineda, is not a center fielder, has horrible personality. The switch hitting catcher here, he's not a good catcher. You know what? I usually don't sign pitchers in these international amateurs because, I mean, once again, they're pitchers. Anything can go wrong with these guys at any given moment. But there's this fella here, Sterling Jewell, 80 potential, according to my scout and OSA. I mean, if he develops even slightly, he could be a really, really insane pitcher. Only 15 right now, almost 16. Decent personality, high adaptability, intelligence. Already throwing 92, 94 at 15, almost 16 years old. I mean, and he only wants 2.8 million. So we are just going to go ahead and offer him. Never mind, we need to do the thing we did last year where we move around our international complex. All right, we are back, and I'm going to be offering Sterling Jewell a 2.8. We'll just bump it up to 3, see if maybe that's enough to get people off our backs here. And then we have 2 million before we go over budget. I'm just going to offer this Juan Montez guy here, who is a high work ethic, high leader, very good defender. So we are going to offer him the 1.7 that he's asking for and hope that we're going to be able to get both of those guys. Also, Tamar Johnson just made his debut. He hit second against the Rockies, and he went 2 for 4 with 2 runs driven in, had a triple on the day, and then I'm assuming the other one was a single. And our man Joe Elvis pitched, went 7 innings strong, only gave up 3 hits and struck out 7 batters. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Both Sterling Jewell and Juan Montez both signed their deals, so they are now a member of our international complex here. 16-year-old Juan Montez and Sterling Jewell, who is about to turn 16. So the All-Star Game rosters were just announced, and predictably, our terrible D-backs team only has one All-Star, and that is Christopher Sanchez, our reliever, our stopper at the back end of our bullpen. He's been very good, but, it's not too much home right out of that when it's your bullpen arm making to the All-Star team. Alrighty, so it is the 2025 All-Star break here. As we know, our D-backs team has been absolutely awful because I apparently am the worst OTP player of all time. As we can see here, negative 78 run differential. I mean, just every move I make does not work in this series. But take a look at how our pitchers are doing. We have just recently moved to a 6-man rotation because Patrick Sandoval is back from his IL stint. So he is back in our rotation here. And I wanted to keep the 6-man because Elvis has been very good in both of his starts here. He's gone 7 innings, struck out 7 in both of them, got a win in both of them. Just keep rolling with him. Why not? So he's going to keep getting spots in the rotation here, while Sandoval just gets added on into the 6-man, and then the bullpen will remain these guys: Sanchez, Weisenberg, Stephen Groom, Walston, Adone, and Cavalli. Sampson is the odd man out. He is on the waivers and DFA. We literally just waived and DFA'd him. Obviously, very good 4-pitch mix here. Just hasn't really performed enough for me to want to keep him around, so he's going to go through waivers. If we take a look at our pitchers, we have, of course, Christopher Sanchez, who was our all-star. Joe Elvis has been very good in the bullpen and in his 2 starts. Luis Severino has actually been quite solid. Did get hurt for a bit, only had 8 starts in the big leagues here, but was pretty good ERA-wise, not so much FIP-wise in those 8 starts. Also, Jay Groom has been solid in the bullpen for us. 27 appearances, 42 innings, very solid as the lefty out of the pen. Tyler Chatwood has actually been good as a starter and a reliever, surprisingly, for us. 75 movement has been working with that extreme ground ball outlook that he has. If we take a look at his splits here, as you can see, about league average when it comes to being in the rotation, and he was absolutely lights out in the bullpen. So, I mean, I will take that any day of the week with him. Don't expect Tyler Chatwood to be an ace after all. While Patrick Sandoval's been fine, Jack Weisenberg's been fine in the bullpen, Trevor Steffen's been solid in the bullpen, Zach Gallen's been league average. He's been fine. Blake Walston's been fine. Pablo Lopez has been underwhelming. And Adone and Cavalli have just been disastrous. I mean, they came over in the trade we got with the Washington Nationals last year. I believe that was the Foray trade. Yes, it was the Foray trade because we cashed in on his what am I saying? His potential, because he was on the top 100 prospects, even though he was absolutely god-awful in every level of the minor leagues for us. So we decided to get something for him, and turns out everybody who has come over for him has just been also bad. Luckily, the other guys have not been too good either. I mean, Alec Boehm has been an under-league average first baseman who they've signed through 2028 for some reason. Edwin Uceda's been in their bullpen this season. It seems like he's been okay, nothing too great. And Michael Foray is back in rookie ball. They have a 21-year-old who was drafted in 2023, I believe, or 2022. When was he drafted? 2022 in rookie ball. So that's where his career is right now. Well, on the hitting side of things, it has been disastrous this season. Jordan Lawler's been about a little bit above league average as our shortstop. Alec, let's see how he's been defensively. Not great. Not great whatsoever, which is not good to see. Last season, he was above average, and this season, he's been below average for whatever reason. Alec Thomas has been around league average with the bat. He was pretty slumping. Him and Carroll were slumping to start the season, so it's good to see them start to turn things around. Ketel Marte has not been, he's been slightly below league average. Definitely not the usual Ketel Marte we are used to seeing. He is on the wrong side of 30 now, so wouldn't be surprised if he starts declining here these last few years of this contract. That could just be what we're seeing here with this season. Tamar Johnson, only 6 games since coming up. Can't really judge too much on that. But he is striking out at an absurdly low rate, though. I mean, 8% of the time striking out. Pretty insane stuff. De Los Santos has been not great. He's just we're just trying to get him going, give him a Bs, maybe figure things out as the season runs along here. And hopefully he's able to be a really good power bat for us down the line. And the rest of the season, he's got 10 home runs, which I believe is the most on the team. It is. He's got the most on the team, and it's 10 at the All-Star break. Buddy Kennedy has not been great. Josh Rojas has not been good. Obviously, Hedges and Taylor and Pache and Hernandez are not good. The bats have just been very, very not good here in the big leagues. I mean, that's really been the difference. I feel like our pitching has been fine. We went out and improved our pitching. I feel like I definitely did that. I didn't count on basically every single good hitter on our team deciding not to be a good hitter anymore. Also, there's Tim Tawa, who is super utility man against right-handed pitching. We called him up. He's got 81 ABs. He's been about league average with the hitting. With the hitting here in the big leagues, he's been fine. He's going to stick around. But he's actually been platooning at third base. As you can see, Rojas here is our third baseman against righties, but he is our backup third baseman against lefties. So if we see Tawa here, well, we just looked at his stats. What am I saying? Actually, he's been worse against lefties, which is not good to see because his ratings say he should be better against lefties. That's why I was platooning him with Rojas, because he can play a pretty decent third base. While Rojas, not so hot against lefties, a little bit better against righties. And if we take a look at his splits, I mean, what's the deal here? He's been awful against righties, but he's good against lefties. I mean, I don't understand what's going on there with the splits. Obviously, it's a much lower sample size, but I mean, what the hell? And then our guy Jeremiah Jackson here is down here in AAA, just absolutely lighting things up at 92 plate appearances. But I mean, he goes to the big leagues and he can't hit. What more is there to say about him? So we are actually going to be sending Dan Adone here to the minor leagues because he just hasn't been good in the bullpen nor the rotation. So he's just going to go down to AAA and do his thing down there. And we have actually called up somebody directly from AA. We picked him up in the Philadelphia trade that we did. Where we picked up the catcher and this guy who we lost in the offseason, who is in the minor leagues for the Nationals, and he's not doing anything for them. But we have Steven Cruz, who my scout thinks has two 80-grade pitches, 170 grade pitch, and a 55-grade cutter, with 80-grade stuff, 65-grade movement. I mean, I would be remiss not to give this guy a shot in the big leagues here, because he has been absolutely lights out in the minor leagues. Alrighty, so it is July 26th, which means we are coming up here on the trade deadline, and obviously our Arizona Diamondbacks are not in position to even be remotely close to the wild card. 18 and a half games out of the wild card, 25 games out of the division. Not looking good for our Snakes. So it is time to gut this team, essentially. Possible guys that we're going to try to get off our books here, try to get some pieces for here at the deadline. Severino, absolutely. Zach Gallen, absolutely. Rojas, if we can get something for him, yes. I would be up for trading him. Michael Taylor, maybe we could get something for him, but maybe not. We might be stuck with him for next year too, which I'd be fine with having him as the center fielder next year as well. Devious Sampson might not be able to get anything for him, but if we can, we will attempt to do that. Austin Hedges, maybe, but these guys are like very, very big maybes. The main guys are Severino, Gallon, and Rojas, and then maybe we might even go into our bullpen here and try to get some value out of Sanchez as a reliever. I believe he does have a couple more years of team service. Yeah, he's got 3 more years, so maybe not, but it might be interesting to look into. Chatwood also. Chatwood's definitely a guy we're going to attempt to trade here because he's been good for us. All right, so I think I've managed to put together a deal I like here for Zach Gallen. Our guys definitely do not have the trade value that I hoped they would have, but Gallen here, I think, is going to get us a good haul here from the Red Sox if we add in a couple guys. So it's Gallen and a couple prospects for Christian Knapsack, Paul Miro, Chase Dollander, Chase Dollander, Josh Kasevich, and Rock Riggio come to the Diamondbacks in return for Zach Gallen and a couple arm prospects. Anderson Azor is a guy who my scout likes quite a bit. Number 78 prospect in baseball, but I mean, he's another guy who's struggled mightily throughout our system here. I put him up in Double-A to see maybe if he figures things out, but I mean, my scout doesn't really think he's any better in Double-A than he is right now in the Northwest League. I mean, yeah, he just hasn't figured things out. He's almost 22. You know, maybe he figures things out with them, but I mean, I'm willing to take the chance that he's so far away from the major leagues that we just might be giving him some guy who's not going to be anything. And then we also give them Brawny Munoz, who is a guy we picked up in this Cleveland trade. Yeah, that was the Pavin Smith trade all the way back in 2023. We did that. We acquired him with Trevor Stephan and Jose Furman, who's still on the AAA team right now. Munoz is currently with the AA Amarillo Sod Poodles. He's been fine. Nothing really to write home about, you know. He's a reliever. And we get a haul of a pretty decent amount of prospects here. The main piece originally was Christian Knapsack. Very high avoid K, decent eye discipline, a little bit below average contact, average gap power. Never going to be a home run hitter, but going to not strike out a lot at all, really. Going to walk a decent amount. Lefty-righty guy. Probably a second baseman more than he is a shortstop. Can probably play some third, too. A little bit high leader, high work ethic. Very good base runner. Definitely a guy who could help us out here. He might even be up in the big leagues at some point this season. We'll have to see. We'll have to evaluate our post-trade deadline roster. But then I also added in this guy, Miro, who is as you can see, very unique player. Never really going to make too much contact. He's just going to be a guy who has like a 360 OBP or something like that entirely from walking. 70 I, possible 75 I, 70 avoid K. Pretty insane stuff. He was their 12th round pick in last year's draft out of Oregon State. Very, very unique player. He's just kind of a throw into the deal. We also get Chase Dollander, something like that. I don't know the exact. I know who he is. I know he's the weird facial hair, long hair guy from Tennessee. He was their second round pick in 2023. Fly ball pitcher. He's fine, you know. Could end up being a decent starter for us, maybe a decent reliever, but definitely not too far away from the big leagues here. He'll probably be in Double-A for us because he should probably be in Double-A right now. And then there's also John Kasevich, who was their second-round pick in 2022. He expects to be playing in the major leagues. Another 80 avoid K guy, high contact. He might be our third baseman here the rest of the season, honestly. Very, very low strikeout percentage. Very solid player at every level he's been to. So he's a guy who might be on our team here playing third base for us once we get rid of Rojas. And then there is the man, Rock Riggio, who they have playing right field, but he is definitely a guy who can play some infield as well. Second base, third base, that type of infielder. But I mean, very good eye, good contact power possibility, contact gap power possibility, a little bit below average home run power, high work ethic, lefty-righty guy. He was their first round pick last year. He tore it up in rookie ball, had a little stint in A ball. Then this year he started off in high A, absolutely tore the cover off the ball. He's been in Double-A for like 200 plate appearances. Hasn't been the greatest. but I'm confident that he is going to be able to turn things around here. And he probably won't be in the big leagues this season, but he's absolutely a guy we will be looking at here either next season or the season after that. So this is the haul. All these guys for Zach Gallen, Anderson Azor, and Brawny Munoz going to the Red Sox. Boom. I believe that I have found a deal for Luis Severino here. Believe it or not, the Pittsburgh Pirates, if we take a look at the standings here, are actually 67-42. They are 9-10 in their last 10, and they are second place in the NL Central, firmly in a playoff spot, I believe. If we take a look at the wild cards, yes, they are. They are the top team in the wild card. They would be hosting the Dodgers in the playoff end of today, so they are looking for a starter here at the trade deadline. I offered them a prospect package of Severino, and I noticed that a lot of teams did not have the budget. I was not getting a lot of good offers for Severino, and I was like, why? He's been fine. He's been a good starter. Why does nobody want him? And I figured maybe it's because of the budget, so I decided to retain some of it. He's only a one-year deal, so it's like we're going to pay the contract that we signed up to pay anyways. It's not like we're signing ourselves up to be paying it like next season or something. Like we're just paying what we signed him to pay him. And so we're going to retain 65% of his deal here. Also attach Esteban Florial to the deal and send him to the Pirates in return for Sean McClain, who's the one who caught my eye in the prospect package that they offered me. And then I did a bit of tweaking to it, but Sean McClain, Arizona State utility guy, second base, maybe some shortstop, probably just second base though, corner outfield type guy as well. Good base runner, high leader, work ethic, got some good gap power, eye discipline, above average void K possibly. A little bit below average contact, but overall a pretty decent player here. He's been quite solid at every step of the minor leagues that he's been between Pittsburgh and Chicago with the White Sox. So definitely a solid player to have in the organization here. A little bit older, but still, you know, we're not going to get too much for Severino here. And then we also attach Reed Trimble, who is a 25-year-old switch-hitting outfielder. High work ethic, high leader guy, good speed, can play a decent outfield, solid hitter across the board. And he's another guy who was just absolutely torn up every level that he's been at. And he just recently got called up to the big leagues here in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure where he would play for us, but he's definitely a guy who we are going to bring into our organization here and hopefully play a decent role. While if we take a look at Connor Scott, he's going to be a guy who basically sort of takes Florial's spot in the organization. Florial is almost 28, 27. Connor Scott is almost 26, so he's a little bit younger, doesn't have as much major league service time, and he's another guy who just absolutely tears up the minor leagues. Could be a decent corner outfield bat for us as a depth guy like Florial was. While Escato here is a third baseman, and maybe play some second base too, a little bit of corner outfield if we really wanted to, but most of all, just a decent power bat with some gap power. Decent player, been crushing AAA this season, figured might as well add him to the deal as well. So we get all these bats, they get Severino and Florial because we're basically swapping Connor Scott and Florial. And yeah, so that's what we get here, and we are going to do it. Boom, Severino goes to Pittsburgh. We're going to be doing a bit of swap pieces here with the Texas Rangers. Austin Hedges and Alec Burleson are going to go to Texas, and in return, we get Josh Young, Texas Tech, as the main piece of the deal. He's going to come over and probably immediately platoon at third base against lefties while Rojas plays against righties, because I think we're going to keep Rojas. We'll get into a bit of that in a second here, but then the other piece we're taking on is Nathaniel Lowe, first baseman, lefty-righty guy. You know, Scott thinks he could be a decent power bat. You know, he probably is a decent power bat. I don't know if he's going to get much time for us. We might even just immediately waive and DFA him and try to get him in a AAA, but he's not a guy who's done very well as of recently. He's got like one more year left of team control too. He's arbitration next year is still going to be cheap, so we could easily just dump him in the off season. But he is actually required to make this go through. Josh Jung's the main guy I want, and if I take Lowe, off the deal here, they just immediately don't want it anymore. So we are just taking low off their hands, giving them Hedges and Burleson, and we get Josh Jung. Or I keep calling him Jung because it says Jung. It looks like it's pronounced Jung, but I know it's Young. Josh Young will come over and play some platoon third base for us. We're also going to do a bit of a weird deal. This is literally just to get Michael Taylor off the roster. We claimed him knowing that he had a second year at age 35 signed. It doesn't really just fit in. I don't really know what I was thinking, but obviously he's a very, very good defender, 80 grade outfield range. But I mean, he's not enough to where he's better than Pache. I'd rather just get the younger Pache in to play every day in center field. So he is going to play, Pache is going to play center field for us every day rather than having a split between these two guys and just get the full the full effect of having the defense of Pache rather than splitting their defense. And for Taylor, we are actually going to have a month of Aroldis Chapman. He's out for 4 weeks right now with a rotator cuff strain, but he is going to be back at some point. We're not going to get too much of him in this season, and we're also not going to be able to get his vesting option. He has a vesting option of where if he finishes 40 games, he gets that $9 million next season. I've gone ahead and looked at his splits. I believe it's here. There we go, I found it. He has 17 games finished. So, I mean, there's no way he gets to 40 here in the season, I believe is what it was. Was that what it was? Yeah, 40. I mean, there's probably no way he gets to 40. So he's going to come and just finish out the season when he comes back from his injury with us. We get him for the rest of the year. They get Michael Taylor. And then we also get Edgardo Enriquez here, 23-year-old right-handed reliever, who could be something decent down the line. Currently in Double-A, might be promoted to Triple-A for us. He's been solid in the minor leagues. We're going to, just have him in our organization here. And we get Taylor off our books for next season. All right, so I think that's all we're going to do here at the trade deadline. We're not going to end up trading Tyler Chatwood because he has just an embarrassingly low value. Basically, nobody out there wants him, and I'd just be giving him up for literally nothing. I'd just be getting a quad A, 32-year-old reliever or something like that. I'd rather just have Tyler Chatwood for the rest of the season. It's not like we have anybody who can just come in and just immediately play for us. So, I'm sure we could, but I mean, I'm just going to keep Tyler Chatwood here. He's been good. He's even been pitching good here in July. He had a bad month of June. Every other month, he's been fantastic for us. So he's just going to finish out the season here in Arizona, and then maybe we're able to get him on a cheap deal next year as well. Who knows? But we are just rocking with the 5-man rotation again. Sandoval, Chatwood, Elvis, Lopez, and we called up Kenny Hernandez from AAA. If you remember, he's a guy we've had in AAA for a few seasons now. He's been very good in AAA this season. He's been in AAA historically very solid, so we're giving him a shot here in the big leagues as a 27-year-old lefty here. Hopefully he's, ends up being a decent guy. Ground ball pitcher, sinker, curveball, very good changeup. Could be a decent piece for us in the rotation. So Hernandez is up in the big leagues, while the bullpen, Sanchez, Weisenberg, Groom, Stefan, Cruz, Walston, and Cavalli. Well, if we take a look at the bat side of things, as we can see, both Rojas and De Los Santos are on fire. We take a look at De Los Santos' splits, tearing the cover off the ball here in July. 5 home runs, a 164 WRC+. I mean, what else could you ask for from the guy? Finally starting to put things together here at the major league level. Tamar Johnson's only got 98 plate appearances. Hasn't been great, but I mean, only 98 plate appearances as a 21-year-old. Not going to judge him too hard. We've called Marchand back up to the big leagues here. He's back catching for us, while Hernandez is his backup. And then if we take a look at at Rojas, his splits here, he's been very, very good here in July, and that's because he is only playing against right-handed pitching, and he is much better against righties than he is lefties, so he's actually starting to figure things out here in July. We've also decided to keep Nathaniel Lowe up here in the big leagues just as a backup bench guy to have at the first base position, because he is very, at least my scout thinks he's very good against right-handed pitching, so we've got him playing every fourth day against righties while also being the main pinch hitter. Sean McClain is also up here in the big leagues as our backup second baseman / shortstop. Josh Jung is up as well, like I said, backup third baseman, and then secondary backup first baseman. Reed Trimble is the fourth outfielder. Pache is the center fielder, and then against lefties, it's basically the same thing, except Jung moves into the third base role while Rojas is the backup third baseman. But we got a couple bats putting things together now. Jordan Lawler has been very good here. Corbin Carroll's starting to be about a league average bat. Same with Alec Thomas. Taylor Santos is starting to tear the cover off the ball. Rojas is starting to be very good in this platoon. Vital Marte can always turn things on at any given time. Same with Tamar Johnson. Who knows what happens here down the stretch for us? I don't expect to make the playoffs, but I mean, maybe we ruin ourselves a draft position here. We end up picking in the middle of the order next year. All right, Christian Pache fractured his finger. Isn't that what happened to him earlier in the season? No, he had a severe hip strain. We had somebody else who fractured a finger at some point. It was an outfielder. But Pache out for about like 5 weeks here, so 10-day IL for 5 to 6 weeks, rather. All right, well, I wouldn't say it's ideal, but we are putting the guy who we've had at center field at one point, Alec Thomas, back in center field, even though we know that he's not a good center fielder. We traded away Michael Taylor, obviously. Really, the only other option for center field would be calling up Jaquan Smith here, who could play center field. Obviously can play center field with a 70 range. He's had a decent ZR at both spots he's played in center field this year. He could come up and play a decent center field, but I mean, I'd rather see just what we have in the bats here. So we are just going to be having Reed Trimble play right field, Thomas in center, Carroll in left, and then Tim Tawa is back up as the fourth outfielder. We're also keeping an eye on the waiver wire here, and we are actually going to slap a claim on a Braves pitcher, Bryce Elder from UT, baby. Extreme ground baller, good movement stuff, sinker, curveball, 2 decent slider, changeup. Hasn't been awful. But they are waiving him, and we are going to slap a claim on Bryce Elder. Alrighty, our claim for Bryce Elder has gone through, so now it's time to see who we are going to send down to make a spot for him. It's actually going to be Nathaniel Lowe, because he has barely even played for us here. There's no point having him on the roster here. So Nathaniel Lowe is just going to be waived and DFA'd because he has no options. So now Josh Jung moves into the backup first base role, becomes the main pinch hitter as well. Well, against lefties, it's going to be Rojas. Can he play first? I'm sure he can. All right, so Bryce Elder is now one of our middle relievers with a secondary setup role. And then Josh Jung is now the backup first baseman against righties, as well as Rojas is the backup first baseman against lefties. And another one of our claims has gone through. Carlos Soto is a catcher from the Cardinals organization. He is a catcher who has been hitting very well in AAA, and he's not the worst catcher ability guy, high leader too. So I was interested in bringing him on here because we have had catchers who are... Obviously, somebody like Hernandez here is really, really bad. It does not hit whatsoever. And... he's been, I guess, fine defensively, whereas Marchand we brought on to be an offensive catcher, and he has been just straight awful at the plate, while not being great defensively either. So because Hernandez is out of options, we are just going to send Marchand down to AAA. All right, Jordan Lawler is now out for 3 weeks with a strained calf muscle. That's not ideal, because he has been quite solid for us here down the stretch. Screw it, we're not competing. Really, the only shortstop we have down in AAA who could come up and play shortstop is somebody like Geraldo Perdomo, who is not a great defensive shortstop. We could call up somebody like Blaze Alexander, who is more of a third baseman. I believe. Yes, he's more of a third baseman, barely plays at shortstop. Or there's like Glenolyn Hill, who I'm not going to call up to the major leagues. We're getting crazy here. We got Tamar Johnson at second, Jeremiah Jackson at third, who's back up from AAA, and Josh Rojas is going to be playing shortstop. While against lefties, it's Johnson, Jackson, and Young at shortstop. So let's just see how it goes here the rest of the season. Alrighty, so the disaster 2025 season has come to an end. Luckily, we were not as bad as the Colorado Rockies this season, but still, 98 losses, not what we were trying to set out to do when we put together this roster. So taking a look at the pitching side of things, the highest WAR on the team, Christopher Sanchez, our reliever, our closer, getting 102 innings as a stopper. Yeah, I mean, had the most relief appearances in baseball, 102 innings, 2 WAR, 3.1 R WAR, 169 ERA plus, 76 FIP minus. I mean, just flat out dominant from Christopher Sanchez in the bullpen, but it wasn't enough. We had I felt like we had good pitching this year. Maybe not as good as I thought. Basically, the entire team fell apart once we did the trade deadline, obviously. But I mean, before the deadline, having Severino and Chatwood on the team, or Chatwood was still here, but Severino and Gallen, we were definitely pitching well. It was just the bats did literally nothing this season. But I mean, yeah, the best one on the team being Christopher Sanchez, 2.1 ERA plus. Christopher Sanchez. Chapman ended up pitching a total of 5 games for us, having a 0 FIP minus. That's pretty insane. But barely pitched for us. Trevor Stephan was good out of the bullpen. Bryce Elder came over at the waiver wire, and he ended up getting a couple starts. If we take a look at his splits, as a reliever, he was very good for us. In his 3 starts, he was not good at all for us. Tyler Chatwood, of course, put together a pretty decent season. Take a look at his splits. He was, fine as a starter, very good as a reliever. Ended up getting 26 starts, 13 relief appearances. Overall, pretty solid season for the extreme ground baller. I doubt we bring him back next season, but I mean, if we want to, he is an option. But I mean, he will be 36 in like 100 days here. So not really somebody on the top of my list to bring back. Jay Groom was fine. Elvis was fine. Walston was fine. Kenny Hernandez got 9 starts in the big leagues, and he was fine. Had a good FIP, not great ERA, though. Weissenberger, not great. Struck out a ton of guys, walked a decent amount of guys as well. 80 grade slider, just didn't really play that great here in the big leagues this season. Sandoval has been not great since coming over from Anaheim, or Los Angeles, rather. Definitely not what I was hoping for. Also, Pablo Lopez, who is currently hurt. Take a look at the IL. Strained oblique here. He also was not great for us this season. Obviously, Luke Murphy was good, but he tore an elbow ligament. Alec Thomas finished the year on the IL as well. You can see here, wasn't a great season for him either. Coming off an absolutely scorcher of a season last year, as well at the plate in 2023, and then just did nothing for us this season. Also, we never got a chance to call up Connor Scott from AAA because he came over and tore an elbow ligament, and he was performing for us in AAA as well as with Pittsburgh. But I was going to call him up at one point because we did have some injuries happen to our outfielders down the stretch, but he just never got a chance because he got hurt. But yeah, Cade Cavalli, he ended up getting some time in the big leagues this season, was not great. If we take a look at his splits here, he was fine as a reliever. Nothing too crazy, but he was just bad in his 9 starts. Very unfortunate how we got him, and he immediately got hurt. Adone as well, just not good whatsoever. 63 ERA plus is just bad. I mean, and he was actually better, or that's combined stats, but I mean, he wasn't good as a starter or a reliever in the big leagues for us this season, so that's not good to see either. Well, on the hitting side of things, just a couple of guys who were about league average, and then everybody else just kind of stunk it up here for us. Ketel Marte, 2 WAR, I believe is the highest on the team. It was 108 WRC plus. He was actually hurt for a little bit down the stretch. Still managed to get, I believe he was one of the guys that got hurt, wasn't he? Maybe not. But anyways, still, around league average. Corbin Carroll, around league average. 1.9 WAR. He was, ended up being fine, but I mean, we were definitely expecting a lot more from Marte, Carroll, and Thomas this season to actually be competing. But Lawler, definitely another guy who, put up decent numbers. I'm not going to complain too much, but he did get hurt. So he only played 98 games, which was the exact amount of games he played last season, and he got 20 more ABs this year. Basically similar numbers, a little bit better at the plate this season. Davison De Los Santos ended up playing 141 games, getting a little under 600 plate appearances. Hit 22 home runs, 21 doubles. Did not have the greatest season overall, though. Was pretty much just the guy who hit home runs. He had a really, really good month of July, okay month of August, and then just kind of fizzled out in September. Rojas, who we platooned down the stretch, ended up, once again, I don't know what this is about. I don't know how I don't know how this works because, well, I know how it works, but I don't know how that ended up because he tore up lefties but didn't play against lefties and then was bad against righties and had his best months when he was on the, he had his best month in July and August. He was okay. September, he fizzled out like everybody else did. But he had his best months while he was platooning as only the right-handed pitching third baseman. So it's kind of weird that he had this very weird split. There are also some interesting names on here who had small sample sizes, like Tamar Johnson was about a league average hitter in exactly 300 plate appearances. 21 years old, I mean, still extremely young, but definitely a very solid showing here in the big leagues. 18 doubles, 17 swipe bags. It didn't hit a single home run in AAA or the big leagues this season. So, his slugging is going to be completely reliant on his ability to hit doubles and triples. We also had this guy, Michael Escato, who is a third baseman / second baseman, maybe play some first base too, guy we picked up in the Pittsburgh trade at the deadline. And he was absolutely tearing things up in AAA this season for Indianapolis. He came over here and he just continued tearing things up. We ended up needing a bat at some point, so I called him up, and he got around 100 ABs for us and was about a league average bat at 8 home runs. I don't really know what his role long-term is on the team, but I mean, if he's going to hit like that, and if he can hit even slightly like he was in AAA in the big leagues for us, definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Reed Trimble is a guy who also was performing well, but kind of fizzled out at the end of the year. Extremely low walk rate as well, but I believe he had like a really good month for us. Yeah, he was really good or not really good, but solid in August and then fizzled out in September. Shocker. That catcher we picked up from the Cardinals, Carlos Soto, ended up not really doing anything with us. Got 92 plate appearances. Didn't really hit, but I mean, it's only 92 plate appearances. Josh Young, in his time in Texas, didn't really do anything. Didn't really do anything for us either. We take a look at his major league splits. Around league average against lefties. Not very good at all against righties. Also, I'm pretty sure I just called him Jung. It's Josh Young. I know that. It's just a habit to say Jung when I see it spelt that way. But overall, really not much to write home about here at the here this season. Just a couple league average bats, a lot of underachievers, and even these guys that hit league average. We were counting on guys like Marte, Carroll, Thomas, De Los Santos, even Lawler, Rojas to be much better than they were. And that's really what it came down to is, if our pitching pitched like it was this season heading into the trade deadline, and our hitting was like it was previous seasons, then we could have easily been a playoff team, I feel like. But, can't get two things working at the same time. When the pitching doesn't work, the hitting doesn't. Or when the pitching doesn't work, our hitting does. When the pitching works, our hitting doesn't. It's just how it goes. Also, that Steven Cruz guy, who my scat thinks is just like an absolute monster, did end up pitching about 26 2/3 innings in the major leagues for us. Wasn't that great. Struck out a ton of guys, as you would expect. Not as much as he did in the minor leagues, but I mean, that's to be expected. It's going to drop when he goes to the big leagues. And I believe he had like one good month, maybe. We take a look. It was pretty good in the ERA plus, not so much in the FIP in August. And then just definitely didn't have a great July or September for us. FIP was very good in September, though, but the ERA plus wasn't. Jeremiah Jackson, I mean, we're just going to have to figure out something with this guy because my scat thinks he should be able to be a very good player. He goes down to AAA, he tears things up, comes up to the big leagues, and he was just absolutely awful for us in the big leagues. after being just a strictly home run hitter the one season he had for us. I mean, take a look at his numbers here. Really, really bad as just a DH in April, May, and then June. Goes down to AAA, rakes, comes back up in August, is even worse. We also had John Kasevich up in the big leagues at one point. He was very, very good in Reno. We called him up to AAA this season, and he just absolutely tore things up with a 146 WRC plus. Only got 39 plate appearances in the big leagues when there was an injury. I believe Lawler got hurt down the stretch, and he came up and played shortstop for us a little bit, even though he's not the greatest shortstop, obviously. But definitely a guy who I am interested in seeing what he can do for us as a bench player. But overall, though, really not much to look forward to, or not much to really be excited about here with this Diamondbacks team. We're really just going to have to piece things together here. Maybe make some trades, maybe swap some pieces. I'm not really sure. Maybe just run it back and hope the pitching and the hitting click this year. Who knows? The only thing I do know is that we need to make the playoffs here, because I'm not doing this series to constantly suck. I'm trying to actually put together a good team here, and it's just not working.